I'm Billy S, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking for minor Erdtrees to upgrade our Flask of Wondrous Physic, as I rank every Erdtree avatar in Elden Ring. And tune in next time when I rank every ulcerated tree spirit in Elden Ring. Long story short, people wanted more joke rankings or topics that are a bit sillier in nature, and I do have a talent for taking dumb topics and talking about them to a serious degree, so every Erdtree avatar and their putrid variants will appear on this list, totaling the amount to 11. 6 regular avatars and 5 putrid variants. Who will be the ultimate evolution of the Vanguard Demon? Let's find out. All 11 Erdtree avatars ranked. Let me know your favourite down below. At number 11, we have the Consecrated Snowfield Putrid Avatar, hidden away at the minor Erdtree in the top right of the map. This specific Putrid Avatar is my least favourite because to even reach him, you have to go through the Consecrated Snowfield Snowstorm. It's incredibly easy to lose your way once that white blanket encompasses your vision, so even finding him is more trouble than it's worth. He's likely the last of the Erdtree Putrid Avatar boss variant she'll face too, and I had this energy of, I just want this guy out of the way so I can continue, as opposed to, oh boy, another Putrid Avatar, how fun! I'm just not a fan of putrid bosses in general. Scarlet Rot, while a great lore concept, is a pain in the ass to deal with in regular gameplay, and aside from the rare preserving boluses, the only other surefire ways to cleanse Scarlet Rot are the Flame Cleanse Me and Law of Regression incantations, and I just don't dabble in those. I feel for the endgame at least, it would have been nice to have a more consistent source of Scarlet Rot healing items for those of us non-magical plebeians out there. He drops a Ruptured Crystal tier, which I've personally never had use for, and the Thorny Cracked tier, which admittedly has a lot of use for my build. Twin Blades attack frequently, and its effect is to make consecutive attacks stronger for 3 minutes. Combined with the Winged Sword insignia, or in my case the Rotten variant, as I completed Millicent's questline, and my damage output can increase quite a bit, even more if you don't complete Millicent's questline and you get her prosthesis instead. It's a shame then that I'm not factoring that into my ranking. Rot plus Snowstorm navigation to even reach the boss equals last place. Deal with it. At number 10, we have the Putrid Avatar of the Elfale Grace. You know the one. You're traveling through the Halig Tree and you come across a large doorway, behind which is your next site of grace. Only it's being guarded by a fuckton of regular enemies and a Putrid Avatar. Straight up, this is the hardest avatar for me in the game, because if you want to fight without the regular enemies bothering you, you have to attract the avatar into the Grace Room, but that leaves you so little room to move around that you'll be struggling to dodge most of his attacks, especially the magic projectiles. If it decides to use its Scarlet Rot Slam in the center of the room, you're also screwed, because you'll have no choice but to make enough distance so the boss can queue up its next attack. You're not getting any opportunity to attack yourself. Luckily for my recorded run, I had the Godskin Peeler, which is able to dish out a lot of damage with or without its special skill, but I think back to my original playthrough, or watching my partner attempt to kill this guy, or even my best friend Nathan, who had done amazing at Elden Ring, getting absolutely wrecked by him. If I could fight him outside and not have to worry about his minions or various archers stationed around the arena, I would be a much happier man. At least he drops a nice Lord's rune for compensation. At number 9, we have the Dragon Barrow Putrid Avatar. Oh wow, another Scarlet Rot variant, how original. Quite honestly, of all the Putrid Avatars, the Dragon Barrow variant is the most forgettable, because when I think of this boss type, I recall the one at the start of Caelid. I remember the ones at the Halig Tree. But this guy? Who is he? What does he do? Does he have a family? What's his favorite food? Can he teach me Chinese Mandarin? What is his Roman Empire? Is he a Gummy Goo stan? Lord knows. His boss fight has nothing to separate it from the rest of the putrid avatars, even though he has quite a nice arena. It would be a plus, it's easy to escape the Scarlet Rot with how wide it is, but for some reason it feels like a negative in his case. I wanted something to make this guy feel unique. He drops the Stone Barb Cracked tier, which makes you more likely to break an enemy's stance, but most builds by this point in the game are already optimized to do that. I don't think a tier is going to help, especially for just 30 seconds of a fight. Now that Opaline Hard tier is honestly pretty sexy. 15% increase to damage negation for all types for 3 minutes? If I wasn't so ruthlessly attached to using my Physic Flask as an extra healing potion, I know I'm basic, I'd be more willing to experiment with that better defense. Note how I talked more about this guy's drops than the guy's boss fight. Says it all, doesn't it? At number 8, we have the Liurnia Northeast Erdtree Avatar. Smack dab in the center of the ancestral followers region of Liurnia, to reach this lad you have to go through hell. And by hell, I mean those archers with the ability to 360-degree no-scope your ass every single time. Once you reach the arena, you've got to clear out some more followers nearby so you're not interrupted, and then you can fight. I really enjoy the regular Erdtree avatars. I think they're the best variant of the Asylum Demon fighting style that the series has, and I don't think there's anywhere else they can go from here. The magic attack is fun to run away from, the staff slams are fun to dodge through, and I get a warm sense of nostalgia with every magical butt slam. But for good old Liurnia Northeast, I always end up fighting him last before going up to Altus. The path to reach him is just too inconvenient, so I always prefer going to the Southwest tree instead. Now he does drop the Holy Shrouding, Lightning Shrouding, and Magic Shrouding Cracked tiers, which all boost their relevant element's attack power, so if you want to get a bit more bang for your buck and you're running a build that uses any of these elements, this guy should be much higher on the list in that case. Otherwise, if you're like me, steer clear unless you're purposefully trying to collect every cracked tier or kill every boss. He's just not worth the hassle for me in the long run, but I can see others ranking this guy much higher and enjoying this fight a lot more. At number 7, we have the Elphael Wall Putrid Avatar. Found on the outer wall of the first part of the area, this putrid avatar is found very early on, and gave me quite the fright on my first playthrough. I wasn't expecting to come face to face with a big boy like this all of a sudden. The path he's on has a lot of space, so it's not hard to move around the boss or run away to gain some distance on him early into the fight. And if you're good at dodging his staff slams, you don't need to worry all that much. Perhaps his foot stomp might catch you off guard, and one bad hit could send you flying off the edge of the rampart to your doom, but you're at the Halig tree, you should be able to handle a putrid avatar. The only issue I had was dodging his magic attack. As you can see, I didn't really know the best way to handle it, as I'm used to just running sideways to avoid those projectiles. But without space, I had to dodge roll instead. He drops the Rotten Staff upon defeat, which is the signature weapon of the putrid avatars, but it pales in comparison to its counterpart from the regular Erdtree avatars, which is just the same weapon but better. The Rotten Staff is more viable for players not leveling into Faith though. I at least respect that this putrid avatar was placed in such a way to provide a decent challenge, and there will be some people who get a lot of joy out of his weapon, but it just wasn't for me, that's all. At number 6, we have the Southwest Liurnia Erdtree Avatar. To be honest, there's no reason why this boss should be higher than the Northeast Liurnia Avatar, and you could swap them around and I wouldn't care. Because its drops are laughably meh, a ruptured crystal tier that I'll never use because I'm not meme enough to blow myself up, and the cerulean crystal tier, which acts as an extra flask of cerulean tears. Now combine this cerulean crystal tier with its bestie found later in the game, and you get a full free refill of your FP bar for those mages who only care about those full free refills. But I think it's a niche use when you could be using your Physic Flask for other stuff like healing, damage boosting, or damage negation effects. The reason why this boss ranked so high is because it was the second one I ever fought in my original playthrough, and it killed me quite a few times because of its increased damage compared to the Weeping Peninsula variant. I've shown over the years that if a boss can kill me multiple times, but keep me coming back for more, I'll remember it fondly in the future, and this is just one of those times. There's nothing remotely special about this fight, I just have great memories of running up that hill from the Mage Tower and learning the Avatar's moveset until I had it down. Just a fun experience, and that really is enough for me. But you know what isn't enough for me? The fact that we are not at 35,000 subscribers. That is my goal to reach by the end of 2024, and I genuinely think we can do it. If by the end of this video you enjoyed what you see, consider parrying that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of my future content, or potentially go that extra mile and become a channel member. It costs $4.99 a month and will get you early access to future videos, as well as a shout out in the description and at the end of this video as well. So if any of that interests you and you want to help keep this channel alive, thank you so much. At number 5, we have the Caelid Northwest Putrid Avatar, the last of the Putrid variants on today's list. I have the fondest memories of the Caelid variant for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it can be fought very early into the game, which means if players want to challenge themselves to a Scarlet Rot beast, they can do so. His attacks will likely two-shot, and the Scarlet Rot will immediately kill, but something about that level of danger just gets the blood pumping, you know? Secondly, this was the first Putrid Avatar I fought, and thus he ended up making the concept feel the most original. In Elden Ring, when so many bosses are repeats, being able to say you were the first variant of a boss type that the player fought is a big deal, because those are the fights that remain the most memorable in the long run. Thirdly, while the Avatar drops a Flame Shrouding Cracked tier, which can buff fire attacks for 3 minutes, he also drops the Green Burst Crystal tier, which boosts a player's stamina recovery speed by 15 per second for 3 minutes. I don't need to tell you why a stamina recovery buff is valued in a From Software game. It's no Grass Crest shield, but if you're taking on a boss fight that requires you to do a lot of blocking, having the ability to recharge stamina for 3 minutes can turn the tides. The Putrid Avatars were never going to make top 3 because even the best of them can't avoid their nature, Scarlet Rot, and how much I dislike it. But I wanted to at least give them their dues, as they're not awful bosses or anything, they're just really not for me. At number 4, we have the Leyndell Royal Capital Erdtree Avatar, who manifests his existence as you're walking along the main road of the city. He drops from the sky, slams into the ground, and says, "You're not going any further until you defeat me." He's an easier variant of the Elfile Wall Putrid Avatar, as they roughly have the same arena, a long but narrow stretch of road, with the main difference being that Leyndell has buildings along the sides, which stops the player from defying gravity. But this also means that the player is closed in with the boss, the only escapes being the side alleys that lead to different areas of the map. He's fought early enough into the level that you won't hurt too much if you're killed by him, and you can always run to grab the shortcut elevator near the Crucible Knight. But at this point, you've overcome a lot to make it here. An Erdtree Avatar is the least of your concerns. His magic is still a pain to avoid in such close quarters though, I won't deny that. He's fully avoidable if you choose to go into the lower part of the city as well and work your way around to the next site of grace from that side. But I'd say he's worth killing because he drops that Lord rune, 50,000 free runes, who would deny themselves that payout? For his surprising appearance that had me quaking in my first playthrough, as well as his lore-accurate appearance, as it makes sense there'd be an avatar defending the main Erdtree, he earns a high placement on today's list. At number 3, we have the Deeproot Depths Erdtree Avatar. Funny story, I never found this guy on my original playthrough. It wasn't until I was watching my partner play through the game that he found this guy, and I was like, huh, why are you here? There's nothing particularly special about this Erdtree avatar. He's fought in a large open space, which gives you more than enough room to outmaneuver his attacks. Hell, you likely just fought the Valiant Gargoyles to even reach the depths. So going from that to an Erdtree avatar is like going from a hydrogen bomb of poison to a holy coughing baby. Now, the reason why this Erdtree avatar ranks highly is because of the Staff of the Avatar that it drops upon defeat. This is an extremely solid weapon for a strength faith build that scales well upon being fully upgraded, and has one of the funniest weapon skills in the game, the Erdtree Slam, which allows you, the player, to do the funny haha butt stomp. Now yes, this weapon is neutered a little bit by its holy damage, with many endgame enemies and bosses resisting holy, which makes it a bit more niche than I'd like. But come on, butt stomp! And who knows, maybe it'll be useful in the DLC. Either way, this dude in the Deeproot Depths gets a high spot because he at least drops a weapon I'd use if I was running a strength build, because I wouldn't mind respecking into faith if I can butt stomp my opponents. I just want to say butt stomp again. Butt stomp. At number 2, we have the Weeping Peninsula Erdtree avatar. This is the first Erdtree avatar that a majority of players will find in the game, and thus, it has the benefit of surprising us with its moveset. Now, of course, veterans would immediately recognize the Vanguard Asylum Demon kit and know how to handle the fight. But for that brief moment of uncertainty, there's a lot of fun in fighting a giant animated tree trunk. That is, until he breaks out his new holy magic attack and you immediately die. Don't think anybody was expecting a special attack like that from this enemy upon their first encounter. Beyond that, the Weeping Peninsula avatar drops the Crimson Burst Crystal tier, which heals the player over time at 7 HP per second for 3 minutes. It's not the strongest buff, but my partner used it to great effect on his playthrough due to his heavy 100% damage negation shield build, which meant he could safely regain HP while blocking most attacks in the early to mid game. More importantly though, this avatar drops my beloved, the Opaline Bubble tier. This crystal tier increases your damage negation by 90% for 3 minutes, or until you're hit by an opponent. What this means is that you can use this tier to tank any single attack of your choice, and if you have a 100% damage negation shield, you can keep the bubble up for even longer. There is no downside to getting a free extra hit to play around with, and can absolutely come in clutch in most early to mid-game PvE scenarios. PvP, not so much, but I don't play PvP because I hate other people. Opaline Supremacy? Fight me. At number 1, we have the Mountaintops East Erdtree avatar. To be quite honest, if we're talking about drops, I think this is a pretty mid-tier avatar. The second Cerulean Crystal tier, which when combined with the previous one in Liurnia can grant you a full FP heal, I mean, it's fine, but if you're at the Mountaintops, you've already got your build set, including your Cerulean tier flasks. Better to buff your magic instead. And the Crimson Bubble tier, which restores some HP when you go below 21% health. This effect lasts for 3 minutes or until the effect triggers, though it won't stop you from dying if an attack hits that takes all of your health. It's better to shield when you're low so you can get the health boost that way in a controlled setting, not something I would personally use. Now, this boss lands this high because of the fight itself. Yes, it's an Erdtree avatar, regular moveset and all that, but at 70% health, it pulls a Dark Lurker and splits itself into 2 identical copies. Normally, the sudden gank would be terrifying to any player, but they share the same health bar, so it's actually not that difficult. Their attacks are generally quite telegraphed too, with the only danger being them both choosing to use their magic projectiles one after the other. At this point in the game, I really was just expecting an average avatar fight, so even something as simple as a gimmick of cloning with a shared health bar was enough to make me think, okay, I see you, FromSoft. And it doesn't make the fight extra hard either. There are ways around it, such as leading one avatar away until the clone de-aggroes, or attacking them both at the same time to do double damage if you've got a big weapon or AoE. I wish that more of the avatars had little gimmicks like this to make them more memorable and fun. And that 70,000 rune drop isn't half bad either. A well-deserved first place finish. And that's my list. Which Erdtree avatar is your favourite? Let me know down below, and be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future videos, including the ulcerated tree spirit ranking. Oh god. My social medias are on screen now, feel free to follow where you feel comfortable. I recommend my Twitter or my Discord. My Twitter is definitely the better place to go though. I'm so inactive on social media, to be honest. I want to give a shout out to my YouTube channel members for supporting me for another month. Thank you guys so much for the kind words and the kind support. It's so cool that I have people who want to see the channel succeed. It just feels really nice, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.